All right.
And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of One Hit Wonderful. For those of you who are uninitiated, this is the show where myself and Renee Yaworsky sit down with a favored musician or poet, friend of ours, and we dissect a piece of theirs and also go into the musician or poet's background, who their influences are, the projects they've had a part in, so on and so forth. And tonight, me and Renee have the privilege of having one of our favorites on the show. There you see her down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. A songwriter, a poet, a friend, a muse, all in one go. Silvia Medrano is in the house. Yeah.
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you.
You see me smiling.
And we have another special guest here, someone who is going to be sitting in with us for the whole hour and has a couple songs of her own to premiere, the lovely Dine Marie Coll. Yeah.
Yay.
So happy to be here.
We're happy to have you,
and
Diane.
We have Judge Hiram Stern. You're looking colorful today, Judge. Your honor.
I'm on vacation. Unlike other people around here, I don't miss shows. I have my vacation glasses on and my vacation shirt.
Well, it's very becoming on.
I'm very happy to be on the show with Miss Dine Marie Coll and Miss Silvia. Yes.
So you'll be watching from the green room and you'll be taking notes, taking a list and checking it twice. So we'll see you again at the end of the show.
Unbelievable. Yes.
Okay. Bye, Judge.
Bye, Judge.
And just to let you all know, this show is probably going to run long, and run long by quite a bit, because I know the three of us have a lot of questions to ask Silvia, and a lot of things. But first of all, we now unofficially have a theme song that the lovely Dine Marie is going to perform for us now, if you want to.
I will. I just wrote this today. I just wrote this, and it's silly, and here we go. One hit wonderful is tonight. Who will be on and have their songs in the spotlight? Don't let Judge Stern give you fright, because Renee Yaworsky will keep him in line. Wander into one wonderful, so wonderful, cause it's hosted by Jonathan Phipps.
Yeah, there we go.
I love that. I love how it ended on Jonathan Phipps. That was
you've hit it big when you have Dine Marie Coll writing theme songs for you. You've hit it big. We've hit it big, y'all.
We've hit it big. We're in the big time. Well, I want to put up some media real quick, because Sylvia's going to do a song about, and I want to show some of the stuff that she's going to be talking about here. So, Silvia, tell us a little about this.
There we go.
Oh, that's so
adorable.
We go. You posted that, I think that was back in January. So we'd known each other for a bit, and it got into that Kimono My House. You know, we've gotten to know each other so well that we're on each other's personal Facebook pages, and you posted that. And it was, how old were you? 18? 17. Yeah. And this is a Best Western Pool in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
And what was happening was that everyone was writing on the comment thread. The comments were so lively, and I thought, wow, this should be a song. And it just so happened that everyone in the comment thread was either a songwriter or an artist. So Bob Ross was there. Jonathan. Yep. And so the things that Jonathan was saying was, so then we were talking about night swimming at a Best Western.
Right.
And night swimming happens to be it's an REM song.
Yes,
And
a very beautiful one, by the way.
yes, and then so there was that Athens connection, and then Bob Ross wrote that comment. Um, let's see. He's saying, "Oh, memories." Oh, Jonathan had talked about memories, and he said, "Makes me cry every single time."
Yeah, because Night Swimming. Every time I hear that song, I just the waterworks just cut on, thinking of all the memories and the stuff. And Silvia saw something in that and took it, and she shot off like a rocket with it.
She can just write about anything in the moment. Diane is like that. Troy Moore is like that. Just give them a topic and they'll just take off like an improv.
They write songs in 3 minutes, and I envy them so much for that.
Look at the theme song that Diane just did. I mean, it's like so quickly, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, there's a theme song that's catchy and vibrant and cool. And we have access to these people. We actually have access to these people.
Oh, but show Bob's comment again, because
okay.
So his comment, can you read it?
Yeah, so his comment was, I'll share them with you. Maybe we could sneak in and swim in the pool, even if the new owners don't invite us. You can just explain that you're my caregiver and I have dementia. I'm sure they won't shoot us. The worst they could do is call the cops. There you go. The worst they could do is call the cops. And that
was where Silvia got the idea to.
And then I massaged it, so the actual lyrics I ended up with, had to rhyme. Mm-hmm. So it was night swimming with the moon, sneak in with me and swim in the pool. Even if the new owners don't invite us, we could explain, you're my caregiver, I'm your pops. And I had to put the line, I'm your pops, because it had to rhyme with call the cops.
Yeah.
So I'm your pops. So then I'm your pops. I'm sure they won't shoot us. Worst they could do is call the cops. And then the next word after the cops, I wrote busted.
Yep, paying homage to Kate Pearson and the B-52s.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because then I thought of, so I'm referencing REM, and I thought, what other Athens band? So it's the B-52, and it's their famous song Love Shack. And in Love Shack, everybody wants to scream out tin roof, and they want to scream out rusted.
Yep.
So I wanted to put the word in busted.
Oh, there you go. Busted.
So I your thought process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't often get to talk about, what goes into the songs and how I have to massage things. So thank you for this opportunity. And so this song is about, and so in the comment thread, when Michael Pierce took the original picture of the young Renee and then put the shark fins on it, that's when I realized this was a love song about a mermaid and a shark. So it's two unlikely lovers, two people who fall in love unexpectedly, and their first date is in a pool at a Best Western in Athens, Georgia. So yeah,
it's so creative, and I just love that. And I love how the artwork came in from Michael Pierce, and then the song, the melody, and then the lyrics, and then the comments. It just all came together. This is like the community that we have. So awesome.
and so I wanted to someday do a video of us all, at that pool. And take
in a couple months.
Having Troy Moore take audio of someone doing, a cannonball flop, and have that be the cannonball, the audio at the beginning of the song of someone splashing in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna hear this song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Jonathan and I had, so it's a very easy song, G, E minor, C, and D. You can't. Easier. Night swimming at a Best Western, reserve a quiet mind, makes me cry every single time. All the memories, the missed opportunities. Are you stealing my memories and diving head first into them? swimming in the dark. Night swimming with the moon, sneaking with me and swim in the pool. Even if the new owners don't invite us, we could explain. You're my caregiver, I'm your pops. I'm sure they won't shoot us. The worst they could do is call the cops. Busted! Night swimming in the dark. Night swimming with a mermaid. Night swimming with a shark. Night swimming in the dark. Night swimming in the dark.
Wow.
So I sang that song solo, but actually it's a duet. I always imagined that song to be a duet.
Oh, with who?
Well,
Yeah,
Renee and Jonathan.
Okay. So that'll be something to hammer out for August. Silvia, where in this wide world of ours were you born?
I was born in the Philippines, in Manila. And then when I was 3, my family moved to Hawaii. Actually, my parents dropped us off in Hawaii. I have a set of grandparents there. And my grandparents were banana farmers. So my sisters and I used to play jungle on the farm, on the banana farm. And there was a shrimp pond. And there was a tin shack with a tin roof that my grandfather used to take his naps, because he would go there at the crack of dawn. So by the time it was afternoon, he'd be ready for a nap. So yeah, it was quite idyllic. So, my parents being immigrants and professionals, my dad was an engineer, my mom was a nurse. So their plan was to move on to Chicago and leave my sisters and I behind in Hawaii while they got set up. And then we came a year later to Chicago.
What part of Chicago?
Well, in the city, in the city near like a neighborhood called Pilsen. So it was a Polish Hispanic neighborhood. And then when we later on we moved out to the suburbs, which was quite the culture shock for me.
It is.
And that's how I ended up at the University of Illinois, because that was the home state university.
Mm-hmm.
How many years were you in Illinois, Sylvia? I'm just curious, because I'm from Chicago, as you know, and I'm wondering if we've ever been like crossed paths. We just didn't know each other.
I don't know. What high school did you go to?
I went to Lines Township in LaGrange.
Oh, I went to Naperville North.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, home of the Huskies.
Yeah.
But I guess I was in Champaign, Illinois for much, much longer than I ever was in Chicago. I loved college life and studying, and I kept taking classes and study abroads and stayed my summers there. And college was, a real formative time. I know nowadays, like with, the tech world and, just how the world is, sometimes when you have a college degree, you're in a bind because you're in debt, and then people make more money than you who've never been to college just because they're tech savvy.
Right. Yeah.
But for me, I mean, college is more than just the degree. It's the people you meet, the new experiences you have, the opportunities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a question about songwriting process, but Jonathan, I just want to see what you have. I definitely want to ask about Sylvia's songwriting process.
Well, I see we both have songwriting questions in mind. My question was, when did you get bit by the songwriting bug? When did you first get the
Oh,
urge to become a songwriter?
oh, well, there's a short answer and a long answer.
We've got time.
Yeah.
Well, the short answer was that during the pandemic, I had the pandemic to thank. So there is this global project. It's called the 100 Days Project. It started in San Francisco, and there's a subgroup of the 100 Days Project, and it's for ukulele players. So last year during the pandemic, I decided to do the 100 days of ukulele songs. And what happened is that by the time, it's a great, great group. And so there were certain milestones that we would all celebrate for each other. So at the 25th, at the 50th, at the 75th. And then when people would hit their 100th song, not everybody, but a few people tried to write an original song to celebrate their 100 days.
Mhm.
And so I kind of wanted to do that for my 100th day. I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite get it, but for my encore, my 101, I wrote my first song. And I was kind of scared to do it, but by then I had met the Atlanta legend Jeff Evans of Chickens and Pigs.
Ooh, and a great one he
Actually,
Mhm.
let me segue. And I was also watching the Kimono My House during the pandemic. And one day I tuned in and I watched this incredible guitar player, Jeff Evans, and I started posting on his thread. And he looked me up and we started connecting. So, I mean, getting back to the 100 Days Project, he started watching my projects around day 50. And here I was a newbie, like oh my God, these are like just practice songs, like cover songs. And here, one of the best guitarists in Atlanta is commenting. So it really made me step up, I was just like, oh my God, I got to do my best because, a real musician is watching me.
And isn't that how it is, isn't it? We always
Yeah.
start off shaky, but then we just get inspired and motivated by others in our community. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I kind of had.
he would say the kindest comments about technical things, not "Oh, you look beautiful," okay, thank you. It would be like technical things, so that really helped me frame my to be like a real, legit artist. And so for my encore, I said, "Oh, Jeff, help me write my original song." And he says, "Okay, I'll help you." But then, I said, "Okay, I'll write every other verse. I'll write a verse, and then you write a verse, and I'll write a verse, and we'll do it that way." And then he actually for the one of his verse. So by then I had 5 verses, and he only had 1. But the one he gave me was something he saw me write in a comment on a Facebook post about something else. So since he only had 1, I turned that into the chorus because he had told me, take your best verse. He said a trick you could do is take your best verse, turn that into the chorus, and maybe change the chords around. So if you're doing 1-4-5, G, C, D, maybe change the chorus into the E minor, C, change it up. So that became my first song.
And
Cicada Serenade.
And can you play that song?
My first song was Cicada Serenade, and that
I
was
love
written.
that song.
Oh wow!
That was written in August of 2020. So I haven't even been a songwriter for 9 months, and
awesome.
I just it's unbelievable the speed of light that things have happened because of Kimono and I always I was in music groups that I was of musicians who had bands and had legit experience really made me feel like, okay, I can't slack. I gotta present my best at whatever level I'm at. If I'm gonna do GCD, they're gonna be the best GCD chords I can possibly do. I'm gonna finger pick those GCDs. I'm gonna slide those GCDs. I'm gonna whatever, and then I'm gonna change it to key of C and then show off in key of C.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Would you play your Cicada Serenade?
Oh, let's see.
It's such a good song.
Oh gosh. Cicada eyes like olives, stolen from the tree of knowledge. Adam followed Madam Eve, she was cherry grenadine, Fellini pink lemonade, in my cicada serenade. Leave behind your empty shell, let your red eyes glow. Who and what were you 13 years ago? And that was the first verse.
I love
wow.
Yeah, so there's a section in there where I say so it's a love song, but it's more than a love song. It's actually a marriage proposal, and it's asking, what and who were you 13 years ago? And for me, 13, a lot can happen in 13 years, but even in a shorter time, we saw during the pandemic that a lot can happen in such a short time.
Yeah, like you said, lightning speed. And you know what I love about one of the many things I love about your song, Silvia, is that there's so many different layers to your lyrics. You can hear them at face value, but there's so much more going on underneath. And I just want to say that, including,
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that I'm feeling kind of shy about play. You asked me to play that song, but because I've written so many, I don't have them all memorized. It's hard to memorize when you keep writing. And
it is, isn't it?
So luckily, I was able to pull it off. But there's a lyric in that song, and it's "But at my back, I always, but at my back, At my back I always hear time's winged chariot scurrying near, and yonder all before us free, deserts of vast eternity." And I'm stumbling because that's a couple lines from my favorite poem. I was an English major, so that's from Andrew Marvell's To His Coy Mistress, and it's a funny play on his lines. "But at my back I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts." And it's deserts, and now I keep wanting to say desserts, which is a funny typo for English majors. English majors can never spell desserts and deserts right.
Oh, boy.
I love when desserts goes in there.
Yeah, and then for me also, because I'm from I studied in Champaign, Illinois, I can never spell champagne right because I want to spell it like the city.
Right, isn't that the truth? Yeah, it has that I in it. Yeah.
Sylvia,
also,
your poetry comments lead me to my next question. When did you first get the notion to write poetry?
To write poetry? Well, I guess during the pandemic, I had some ukulele friends who had started a poetry group, and it was a tanka group. A tanka is like a haiku. It's a 5-line poem, but it's the first line is 5 syllables, the next is 7, then 5, and then the last 2 lines are 7/7. So I started out during the pandemic writing tanka poems, which I thought, okay, I that's doable. I can do that. And it was great. And they were so, there's nothing like being in a group. So like the 100 Days of Ukulele, it was a worldwide community of 7,000 supportive ukulele players around the world. And then this tanka group was just some of the best, creative tanka people, and also just sweet. And then when Jonathan, you started doing the Rites of March, it was let's do a poem a poem a day for March, and I hadn't started writing long form poetry. I had just been doing tanka poems, but I had also been songwriting already. I had already written songs, so I thought, okay, I'm connecting the dots. Okay, I've written short poems now, and I've written songs, so now is my chance to try to do long form poetry. And then it kind of circled back, right, Jonathan? I mean,
Yes.
like I think the other day, what was it? I did an hour set, and it seemed like every other word I said was, "Oh, and Jonathan inspired, and Jonathan and Jonathan." I'm like,
Oh,
Gonna do
man.
drinking games.
it was circling back. So now some of the poems that I've written, I've now put to chords, and they're now songs. So
Yeah.
it's just,
Hey,
And
Sylvia,
one
I
funny
have a question. Oh,
one funny thing, Sylvia, it's kind of like yin and yang, because she helped me, or I helped her get into long form poetry, and she in turn got me weaned off of long form and back into haiku and tanka and stuff like that. So it's all come full
that's so
circle.
sweet. Yeah. Sylvia, I have a question for you. What was it like when someone heard you, whether it was a poem or a song, and not just heard you, but they got you? They felt the emotion, and you felt that back. I just want to hear you talk about that, because I know how much that means to you.
oh gosh, because I'm so I don't know if the word I notice milestones. So I think I mentioned before that the first time I saw someone dance to my music, it was on a cajon. So of course but that was like, oh my God, I got someone to dance. And then the first time I saw someone lean forward, it was another musician who I admired a lot. And he leaned forward, and I said, "Oh, I have a new song." And he stopped playing. He wasn't even gonna play. He was gonna lean forward and listen to my song. And I thought, "Oh my God!" Like, oh. And
That's a
then
hell of a feeling, ain't it?
and then Jonathan has said things like, I think one time I did a set, and he said in the comments that he was swaying, and I thought, wow, that is so cool. And then, but I one, then it was Hillary who said that I read one of my poems, and Hillary Greer Cooper, and she said she got it, and it made her cry, and I thought, it was a special poem. It was a poem about me being ashamed of growing up Filipino in the suburbs. It was, the suburbs of Chicago, just very gentrified. I didn't feel included in the suburbs. And so I was kind of ashamed of, so I wrote a poem called Tinfoil Lunch, about bringing food and the fish in the tinfoil. And then, I conflated a lot of experiences, and then having by then I didn't have the nuns, but I said, that the nuns had said, why not bring bologna instead?
Right.
But Hillary, she helped me reach a milestone. She said it was the first time I made someone cry. She said she cried that even though she was from the mountains, in Appalachian Mountains, living near Jonathan, that she understood what that felt like. And I thought, wow,
just how, it's like we create for ourselves, but then when we realize that other people feel it and are impacted, it's so powerful. And
Sylvia, I just want to brag on you for a second in regards to that. The impact you made on Hill, and you and Corey Lynn Green, who I don't know if she's watching right now, but the stuff you two do to put what I've felt for almost a quarter of a century now into words and songs, and making it just so, I don't really know how to put it into words, but I deeply appreciate you and Corey for doing that.
Yeah,
I really do.
so I love her. She and I have parallel lives. Just I can't wait to meet her.
Both are Scorpios.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've told you before, Jonathan, that it's taken me decades to put it all together because back in college, I have a degree in creative writing, but everything I wrote back then was horrible, just horrible.
I'm sure that's not true.
You haven't lived long enough. You don't have the perspective.
That's true.
That is true.
Which is what amazes me about your writing, Jonathan, because you're so young, but the way you write, oh my God.
Jonathan's an old soul, that's for sure.
Yeah, I get that compliment a lot. And one thing more, going back to when you were talking about first realizing your impact your music had on folks, that ties me back into a pretty funny story. This is the last concert I attended. It was a seminar for Breedlove Guitars at Kudzu Music in Boone, North Carolina. Richard Gillowitz, who is one of my all-time favorite finger stylists, he was there giving a seminar for Breedlove, and he had like 10, 12 different guitars up there that Breedlove had out at the time. And after the little concert and everything was over with, you could try some of these guitars yourself. So I pick up one of the 12s that they had there, one of the 12 strings, and I was fiddling around with it there, just not really playing any particular tune, just noodling around. And I see a shadow walk up in front of me, and it's Richard, and he looks at me, he says, "Man, you're killing on that thing." I'm just like, mind melted. I could have died where I sat right there in the store. One of my fucking heroes is telling me that my picking is great. I was through the moon about that. And you had a similar situation with Jake Shimabukuro. Tell us that story.
Oh, he was here in Atlanta, and he gave a concert, but I made sure to get front row seats. And so for his closing song, he sang Bohemian Rhapsody, and it was a crowd song. He wanted the crowd to sing along, so I'm singing at the top of my lungs, and he stopped the song at the middle of the song and said, "Hey, you're harmony," and he pointed at me.
Wow.
You're harmonizing.
Nice.
But yeah, later on during the signing, and I asked, I wanted him to sign my ukulele, but and he did, but I told him that actually back in the 90s when I was working as a chef in Hawaii, I used to go listen to him in the coffee shops at near the Manoa Valley, near the University of Hawaii in the Manoa Valley. So I heard him back in the 90s when he was starting out. And then one day I remember watching YouTube back in the early days of YouTube. I'm like, oh my God, that's Jake. That's Jake. And, and he's playing While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and it went viral, I'm like, holy cow, I knew that kid.
I first came to know of Jake through hearing him when he would be on Prairie Home Companion, broadcasting out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I was floored by him then. That was 7, 8, 9 years ago, and I've loved his music a lot since then. So we got to Champaign, Illinois in your timeline. What came after that? What city or locale came after that?
So after college, well, actually during college, I didn't know what I wanted. I loved taking classes, and I guess I just loved taking literature, and I loved all my teachers, and I loved everything about it. And I did study abroads, and that was wonderful. But I was like, what next? So I started grad school in art history, and then master's. And then I thought, I'll apply for a PhD program. And so I applied, and it was for this film studies program in upstate New York, and it was very competitive. And suddenly they had like 1,000 applicants, and like they only picked 2 with scholarships, and I was one of them. And I loaded up my car. I'm like, okay, I'll go to film school. And then I loaded up my car, drove from Illinois to upstate New York, and then I drove all the way back.
Oh no!
And I said, "Hey, hold my scholarship for me," and they did. And then I called them a year later. I said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know."
Oh,
So,
this wasn't in Syracuse, was it?
No, it was University of Rochester, where the Eastman Kodak Foundation is. So they have a lot of films, film money rolling through that university.
So was there a reason that you wanted to wait? I'm curious about the drive back, and then can you hold my scholarship?
Well, there was a boyfriend involved.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes when you're young, you're like, oh.
A boyfriend and a subsequent trek to Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, that was a different boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
That was a different boyfriend.
Okay. I apologize for getting it crossed up.
Keep all the... So that was it. It's just unfortunately I have done a lot for love.
We all go through that.
Yeah, but it has made me a more a rich person. So
absolutely. Do you ever think about going back to that at some point?
Film?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because as musicians, we all about our music videos. So in a way, we all have to become our own film directors. We have to, have a vision of what we want. We have to be able to understand what a storyboard is, how to tell a story through narrative, through visual narrative, and everything that goes into songwriting. We have to translate that into a music video. And because nowadays it's like it's one of the things you almost have to have. You can't just have your record. You can't just have your SoundCloud. You have to have your video too. And there's so much that goes into to the promoting of the record, not just making the record. But I mean, let's not get ourselves scared yet.
I know, really.
Both of you recording albums in the near future.
Yeah, but that's so true. But I just wondered if you would ever consider, getting that kind of final educational brass ring, so to speak.
At this point now, I feel like life is my university now, and for practical reasons, I can't afford to spend the time or the money to go back to grad school. When honestly, I'm learning all this now. On the ropes. So
that's very true.
Yeah, but if I had not gone to college, I wouldn't have had the discipline of college was so important. There's something to be said for writing one term paper after another term paper after another term paper, because really, the whole thing about college is originality. You cannot plagiarize someone else. You have to write an original. You have to have a point of view every time you write a paper. So even if you have to say in your paper, writer A says this, writer B says this, writer C says this, in the end, I agree with A and B, but not C, or D does not go far enough. And that's your original point of view. That's all there is. But you do that for years and years and years, and that changes you into a person who can articulate something original. And so that badly or well, so I kind of feel like, I hope no one ever sees those short stories I wrote.
Silvia, I'm so curious about your songwriting process, because you do weave so much into your songs, and I'm guessing you just don't have one process. I'm guessing you do a number of different things, but I don't know. Can you walk us through your songwriting process?
Weaving. I guess, having prompts really help, but also having read so much classical literature and understanding how the great writers have woven themes together. And also, I've had life experiences where I probably see things symbolically. Um, so, let's see. I don't know. Like I see things in nature and I think, wow, the universe is trying to tell me, the universe just gave me a huge sign. You know, like for instance, I was on my way to see Jonathan in Athens and I was so excited. So I got a speeding ticket. So I thought, you know what? And I was complaining. I'm like, God, that was just a speed trap. And then Jeff said, well, that's not a speed trap if you're going 80 in a 55 miles.
Were you really going that fast?
Yeah. So
anyway.
You sound like my brother.
So anyway, I see that the universe sends me symbols all the time. I see that. And then so I like to weave, I weave things together because I see signs, not to get all creepy on you, but yeah.
No, not at all.
And then also the prompts kind of fall into place, and it's not like, but that's just probably the smallest component. The biggest component really is just writing things out and connecting the dots and working. It doesn't come magically. Like your first rough thoughts aren't gonna be, a poem until you've developed that muscle. So now when I'll see a comment in a comment thread and I'll think, oh my God, that's 5 syllables. Oh, that could be the beginning of a tanka poem.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. Yeah, or if I only just add, but it's because my mind has been groomed to do that, but I don't always assume. Yeah, so there was that one Billboard Gutenberg. I don't even know if I have it, but
that was and Silvia has shared that one with us in the past, and it was inspired by next week's guest, Kim Ware. She lives in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. There's a town 20, 30 miles down the way called Shelby, North Carolina, and there is a former drive-in marquee that after the marquee closed, they turned it into like a community billboard. And every day a typesetter goes up and just takes out letters, puts in messages and all this good stuff by hand. And she wrote the piece around, it was Tim and someone else. If Kim Ware is here, she might know, but it was a guy named Tim saying, "Oh, I want to take you back. Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you or nothing like that." I don't know why I made it. Well, I do know why I made him so southern, because it's in fucking North Carolina. But anyway, but yeah, she took that and just ran with it. Just did a beautiful job. And if you have the piece in front of you, can you recite it?
Oh, actually, so I'm looking it up on allpoetry.com. I have it there. Yeah, so it says, I wish I could show you the picture. But it's a billboard. And it's called Billboard Gutenberg. Is it okay to get her attention like this? I feel for the typesetter who climbs the ladder for love.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that is a ton. Yeah. So now when I'm talking, and it's so funny because when I run into my friends from the old Tanka group, like when they post things, I think, oh, that's a poem. And I start counting their syllables. And then I realize, oh, no, they're not writing a poem. They're just writing a comment.
You've ingrained that into me, Silvia, because I'll be reading something like completely not even related to poetry, and like on Reddit or something like that, and I'll see a comment. I'm thinking that could be a haiku, that could be a tanka, and there actually is a some kind of a bot or something on Reddit. Like if a person types a comment and it's 5 syllables, 7 and 5, but it not in a haiku style, but just in an overall comment, it will take that comment and turn it into a haiku.
Oh
my God!
Technology is amazing, y'all. That's all I'm going to say. So,
I think Sylvia's going to be on that.
We've hit Champagne. We've talked about Germany.
New York.
Now and New York. Now we'll get to where you are now. How did you get to Atlanta, Georgia?
Oh, what a mess. Oh, so then after college, I came back from Rochester.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, okay, what do I really want to do? Because I graduated from the University of Illinois with 3 bachelor's degrees because I really love taking classes. But I'm like, okay, they're all humanities degrees. What do I do now? And I thought, okay, well, it's not too late. The world is changing. Because when I graduated, I had a roommate who was a graphic designer. And she had studied, for 4 years to be a graphic designer. But then just as she graduated, the digital world started to come up, and there was Adobe Photoshop and everything. So she had learned to draw everything by hand, and then everything went digital. So basically everything she learned was just kind of already obsolete. So I felt like, okay, well, anything I want to do, I could do, because everything's obsolete now anyway, that I'm not far behind anybody. So I thought, well, I want to be a graphic designer too, except that I just want to design cookbooks. So I thought, well, it's silly to design cookbooks. I kind of have to go to cooking school first, right? So then I thought, okay, well, I'll go to cooking school. And then when I went to cooking school, a small one, the director said, well, now you have to do an internship. And she said, don't just stay in Chicago. Do research into the chefs who are doing the style of food that you want to do, and just go apprentice with them for 6 months. And I thought, okay. So there was a chef in Honolulu by the name of Roy Yamaguchi, James Beard chef, and he was doing Hawaiian fusion cuisine. And since I had already, I had relatives in Hawaii, I thought, oh, that's perfect. So then, so I wrote him, and he said, sure, come over. So I flew over there, said goodbye to my Italian boyfriend. I said, I'll see you in 6 months. Arrivederci.
All right. So cooking school.
We cried at the airport. I'll see you in 6 months. And then, so I went to Honolulu for 6 months, and then worked with a James Beard chef. And after the 6 months, I'm like, God, this is the tip of the iceberg. I'm just getting started. And then before you knew it, I was there for 6 more years. And then I worked 2 more years for him between San Francisco and Atlanta. Yeah, and in the meantime, I met a lot of world-class chefs, like Nobu Matsuhisa. I remember talking to my chef, and I said, wow, you have a lot of friends. And he said, no, everyone wants to come and do a wine dinner with me. So back in the 90s, wine dinners were real big. So all these New York and, Napa Valley chefs were all coming to Hawaii to do wine dinners with him. I learned so much.
I bet.
But then it was time for this chef to open restaurants throughout the country, because he partnered a joint venture partnership with Outback Steakhouse. So then I was part of the logistics team, opening team of opening restaurants throughout the country. And so I went to San Francisco. Everyone's like, oh, how could you leave Hawaii? And I'm like, well, I'm going to San Francisco. So I remember my last day in Hawaii and being driven to the airport and just crying. The ocean was so blue. And just crying. And my Hawaiian boyfriend took me to the airport.
I'm counting. Is that 3 boyfriends?
Oh dear.
I'm just kidding.
And
wow. You're in San Francisco.
So then San Francisco, and then I came here to Atlanta, and I thought, I'll move to, another city after that. And then, so I moved to Atlanta in August of 2001.
Oh my God, right in the middle of summer.
No, and then a a month later, you know what happened in September 2001? It was September 11.
Right.
And oh, holy cow. Yeah, so yeah, 9/11 happened, and the building I was restaurant in had the French embassy upstairs on one of the floors. So there were the flags of the French embassy or French consulate and the American flag, and I could see it out the window. And I remember the news. Someone brought a little TV in, and the flags were put to half mast. And so yeah, and I remember covering up all the sauces that we had just made. Because we knew people weren't going to come, you know, people were leaving the French consulate crying, you know, it was just horrible. So after 9/11, I thought, well, you know, I hadn't ever intended to be a chef. I had wanted to be a graphic designer.
I never knew that. That is so interesting.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So like, what did I really want? So for a while, you know, I did a few things and did consulting for a while, and then all that, and then life happened, and I decided to stay in Atlanta, and you know, I have a son now, and so yeah, and then that's what brought me to Atlanta, and so I don't think that I could. This is my home now. So that's kind of what went into the writing of the poem Machete Mama. So I'd like to read that. And it's my feeling of you know, people always say, don't you want to ever go back to Hawaii? And this was kind of a response to that. Machete Mama. Mama with a machete, skirt hitched up past her knees, chopping away at a city jungle with Bruce Lee's expertise. Now she's moved into the city to a bungalow in town, but still hits coconuts between the eyes and wears orchids in her crown. Still the tiger she ever was, though the machete is used for cooking. Coconut, ginger, and garlic too. It's steamy in her kitchen. She never dreams of island life. The pond was too small there. In the city, she grows a banana tree. She's made her garden there.
Wow. And that's one of my favorite pieces of yours. Would you be so kind as to tell us the story behind that piece?
Yeah, so it was about my mother years ago. She had called me and said she lost her favorite machete. And couldn't find it, and I wasn't sure whether to be more scared of her losing it or finding it. But you know, I do get it, because you know, a machete, especially a Filipino machete, it's called a bolo. It has a specific shape, and so the end of it is flared, and so you can use it for more than just chopping. You can use it kind of like a trowel. And it's a real fun implement. So I can see why she was upset, because, you know, then after a while, it's like an extension of your hand. Just like I would feel upset if I lost, you know, my ukulele or a favorite implement.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but so that's what, and that happened years ago, but I always thought, you know, after a while, you kind of, there's things that you're like, oh, someday I'll write something about that. And then it's like, okay, that day has come. So,
yeah. Isn't that interesting? Sometimes you just know, it's like, and it can just sort of hold, like be in a holding pattern until, like you said, it's time for it to come out and be created. Yeah,
especially when you're like the Rites of March, when you're like trying to write a poem a day. It's like, okay, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel. What do I got?
That was me trying to come up with prompts for that whole thing. And even now in the pen and paper cafe group, I wake up and I try to do it every day, but I'm just like, some days I'm just like, there is no way in hell I'm going to be able to pull a prompt out of the ether for everyone to write about. There's just no way. And matter of fact, I even forgot what the prompt was for today. I think it might have been marriage or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But Silvia, I want to touch a little bit on what you're doing with the uke these days. And what I absolutely love is that you're branching out into different genres, different styles, taking the uke to places that, a lot of people wouldn't expect it to be. Covering rock songs, covering, folk ballads, covering just all kinds of stuff. What inspired you to do that?
Going back again to the 100 days of ukulele, 100 days project. When you're trying to do 100 covers, you're trying all kinds of genres. And not only that, I was in a group, so I was listening to other people. So there were 7,000 people worldwide, and it was the pandemic. So I was like, and we were a real cheerleader kind of group. We were there to support each other. So I would fall asleep trying to watch, and comment on as many other videos as possible. So you can imagine worldwide, I was listening. So not only was I trying to create, but I was listening to so much. And then I fall asleep listening to other people. And I was trying so hard to leave, supportive comments that were more than just supportive but substantive, because I guess that's the literature major in me, and not just saying, oh, you look beautiful, but like, oh, that's such an interesting, I like the way you went from, how you used all those unusual minor chords, just something that I noticed. And so it became where I realized in hindsight that I was really training my muscles to be more critical musically. I'd done that for years as a college student, right? Critically, and then now as a song things critically as a songwriter for others and for myself. And so I think, and that's what I try to do too as a chef. I do that through food. That's probably harder to explain, but with music and as a songwriter, it was, I guess the point was that because I was exercising that critical function every day consistently without a break, that really helped me. Like I was talking about the tanka poems, after a while it's like, okay, now I come across 5 syllables and I know right away. I don't have to count. It's already there. And then literally in the tip of my hands, my fingertips. So yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I do that quite a bit. That's why it was easy for me to see in Night Swimming, all of the comments were going to be a song. And that's especially because, people talk differently. And I guess because I had lived in different cities. So when I moved from Chicago, the Midwest, to Hawaii, I was just enchanted by the pidgin English and the way people spoke there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was tuned to that. And then when I moved to the South, I still am so enchanted by how people express themselves. And I think that that's why I use a lot of Southern expressions, because I write them down. I'm like, oh my God, that is so interesting. Like bless your heart, you're stupid is one of my songs. Sweet
I love that one. I love that song.
But it's that that expression is actually genuine. It can be genuine, but you have to know the context.
Yes, definitely. I'm just listening to you, Silvia, and I'm just in my head, I'm just making the correlation between your beautiful poetry and how you just write poetic songs, and those pictures that you post of your beautiful food creations. I mean, it just seems like I just really see that correlation where every word, every ingredient is so carefully thought out and chosen. And, I'm just, there's not a question there. I'm just kind of sharing that. I can just see how it all comes together for you.
Yeah. And thank you so much, because I had thought about, as an artist, you want to have, you're told the old rules are, have a web page for your artist site, keep it separate from your personal page. But I have my Facebook page is like where I tell my stories, and I even wrote a song called Facebook Confessional, where I was using Facebook as my journal. Like, what am I learning? What did I get out of this? And it's kind of painful and cringy that I was so, like, I would write long form essays, journal essays on Facebook. And when I first started doing that, maybe a year and a half ago, long before the 100 Days Project, it seemed like, almost no one would like it or leave a comment. And I wasn't doing that for anybody, but, like,
yeah, it's like,
I just wrote a beautiful, 100-word essay. No,
I know,
but Monica Arrington, gave she talked about the importance of journaling as an artist. And I've had people say, well, why don't you, when I first started songwriting, I had, ironically, a poet tell me, why don't you start a journal? And I'm like, why the hell would I start a journal? I'm already writing on Facebook. And actually, since high school, I did keep journals, but then when I read back through them, I thought, God, this is terrible. It's so self-indulgent. And then over the years, I actually burned my journals. But it's different when you're journaling, confessing on Facebook, because there might be somebody who responds, and just to have that
connection,
that
right?
chance that someone might respond to your journal entry makes you want to write more, and then you're having a conversation, and that's exciting. And that's what happened with night swimming. It's like we were all talking about this picture of Renee swimming, and then it's like, wow, that was so exciting. And it's exciting now when we're like on Kimono or any live stream where the comment thread is just lit up. Diane and Lars the other night, I looked at 535 comments.
I know.
Our stream. I mean,
and there was another 120 after you got through reading that.
I know. It's just amazing. And then when you see the emojis floating, and I can always tell, like if I'm watching a performance, like a replay, and I can tell when it's about to end, because Silvia, I can see it's like your fireworks of emojis just flashing. And I love that. I love that. Every time I see that, it's like, oh, the final fireworks,
Yeah, I mean, this pandemic, there's just been so many silver linings. Like, you're not that far. You're in Marietta, but I never would have met you. Like Jonathan, I never would have met John. I never would have met. I mean, there's none of you I knew except Jeff Evans. Well, actually, I hadn't met Jeff Evans
through Facebook, right? Yeah. The only person I knew prior to the pandemic on Kimono was Lars. I knew Lars through Heidi. But yeah, we have to meet for lunch. I want us to get together.
Yeah, let's go to that revolving sushi place.
Yes, I want to go there so bad. That'll be fun. And I have another question about influences, because I hear so many influences in your poetry and in your songs, and just listening to you speak today. But I'm wondering, is there an influence that you have that might surprise us?
Great question.
An influence. I always have dreaded that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have to answer it. It's okay.
No, but let me answer it.
Okay.
Because, I'm an immigrant. I didn't grow up listening to rock and roll. I was a Catholic girl, literature major. I much prefer silence. I know, Jonathan, we've talked about that before. Like, I cannot write. I need complete silence to write songs, because then I can't hear myself think. I can't.
Yeah, that's you. Because here's the thing: you put a lot more thought into your poetry than I do. Really, what I'll do is I'll land on a scene or a place, and I'll just take that and I'll run with it. Whereas you are much more calculated in your poetry, much more calculated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Yes, I just feel like I think it's a great metaphor for life, where, you know, I'm 55, so I feel like time counts. Every second counts. So I'm kind of trying to fast track my career. Everything's so when I got the speeding ticket, I'm like, okay, the universe is saying, I got some life left. I gotta slow down.
Yeah.
I don't have to finish my record.
Years.
By the way, when Silvia first told us, I think she first said it in the stream she did with Tom a month or two ago, when she said she was 55, I'm like, there's no freaking way. There's no way. Oh my God. She looks better at 55 than I do at 25. How is this? Tell me your secrets.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I always said, oh God, I hate that question too, because I don't want to talk for an hour about my age, but but I wanted to point it out because yeah, because I feel like, I want to tell people this did not happen overnight. I had a college degree in creative writing. It was pretty bad. I wrote pretty badly. It's taken me all these decades to put it all together.
That is so true. It's like that integration phase or stage of life, that's what I'm hearing in what you're saying. All those different pieces, and now it's just all coming together.
Yeah, luckily, I think it's coming together.
We think it is.
Yeah.
Sylvia, talk a little. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Dodge the question about musical influences. Silence.
So, talking about stuff you're doing outside of the uke, you mentioned earlier in the show, talking about the stream you did earlier this week, playing the guitar.
Yeah.
How long has it been? When did you first start venturing outside of playing the uke, and how has those experiences been? Because I know you've dabbled in, obviously, cajon. You've dabbled in guitar and banjo and a handful of other things. How have you taken those uke sensibilities and translated them to those instruments?
Well, all string instruments are related, so it's not that hard, really. So, like a ukulele, if you put a capo on the 5th fret, you can use the bottom 4 as just like a ukulele. Then it becomes GCEA, just like a ukulele. Okay. But every instrument has its own unique voicing. Mm-hmm. So, some people tend to think, a ukulele, they'll give their kid a ukulele so that they could later upgrade to a guitar. I'm like, well, a ukulele is its own thing. You don't compare. They're different. But the only reason, but the reason I wanted to learn a guitar is because I play with a lot of guitar players, and I wanted to be able to read their fingers. So then it's easier to jam with them sometimes. Yeah. So, and plus, guitar. Oh my God, look, I feel like a midget.
I know. Oh. They weren't used to seeing you with the guitar. I love it.
And plus, I've heard people talk about this, but during the pandemic, when everyone's been doing videos, the thing is to try to get your fingers in the screen. But so I've changed the way I play the ukulele, trying to get it to fit in the screen. So I'm playing ukulele even higher than I normally would, but then the guitar is even that much bigger. So
Oh,
I'm like going
me.
like this, show my fingers, and then I feel like,
Oh,
oh.
no.
You'll be like, "Where's Sylvia? Where is she?"
Yeah.
Yeah, when you played that, was that Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. It just sounded so beautiful on the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the song that I played, and this was Birds and Bees.
Yeah.
And so Birds and Bees was a poem I wrote for art, and I put it to a old Appalachian tune called Shady Grove.
Yes.
And it kind of was a perfect song for me. It was a poem first, and then I'm turning it into a song to the tune of Shady Grove, which Shady Grove already has 1,000 lyrics that people have written over the centuries.
Full process.
But then it was my way of saying, okay, here I am now in the South, and I'm a ukulele player, but I want to contribute to the modern, to the modern Southern sound that has all these voices now, including my ukulele voice. So this song that I wrote using Shady Grove was my way of saying, here I am in the South. This is my home now, and I'm part of the Southern tradition now. So I have a lyric in there about love is a needle and thread of the brightest rose. Well, in one of the many versions of Shady Grove, I think there's a lyric in there about I'm gonna sew that pretty little girl to my side, right? So I wanted to mention a needle and thread in my version too. Birds and bees and Blue Ridge trees, wise Cherokee rose, love grows under the hose of the Shady Grove. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound to go away. Birds and bees, Appalachianese, get fiddle and garden clothes. Love is a needle and thread of the brightest rose. Birds and bees, a pan cast in iron flows. Honey and cornbread for two. Love grows by the kitchen stove. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound to go away. Birds and bees need the heathen need to grasp. Two are one when two hands clasp. Shady Grove, Shady Grove.
Unreal.
So
Unreal.
oh,
Thank you.
I have this.
And that was what we played when we met in Athens, and it was just so surreal to hear how she took this tune, this tune as old as bluegrass music itself, and just put this beautiful just spin on it. It's just,
Yeah.
I was amazed.
That's one of my favorites. That is just so beautiful. Oh.
Yeah.
So Silvia, tell us a little bit about the project that you are working on with our beloved Troy Moore.
Oh, Troy, he's just. So I started songwriting in August of 2020, and by now I have like 50 songs. So I thought, oh, it's about time to record, to make an album, because I'm backing up now. And going back to 9/11, I feel like when I write a song and when I perform a song, I kind of feel like every song is like a mini 9/11. I remember vividly where I was when I wrote the song, or the circumstances of that song, what I was feeling, just. So I thought, the farther I get away from when I wrote the song to when I'm performing, I was afraid that I would not feel what I felt. So I thought, I need to capture these songs now in an album before that urgency goes away. So then again, I was watching Kimono, and we watched Troy, and his amazing talent.
Brilliant.
And
Unending.
then I looked him up, and he has like 20 albums. And just he's so talented, and he plays multiple. Yeah, he plays multiple instruments. He plays the drums. He plays the flute. I don't think.
He plays the flute.
Yes.
Whoa.
So many. So I thought, wow, this is someone who can help me, because as a new songwriter, the kind of writing I do, I can't hear what other instrument should be doing, so I need help with that. And I thought, what a perfect person to have, someone who can play multiple instruments, who know what it's like to put out records. He's an incredible artist himself, so when it comes to doing the album cover and the back cover and the inside cover and then the video, and he's just the best person to have on your team, but also as a producer. I mean, oh my God.
Oh my God. I know. He's like a wizard, he just.
Yeah. And he's so fast. Like, holy cow. In fact, I want to tell him, let's slow down.
I can't wait to hear it. I cannot wait to hear your album, because I mean, just the two of you working together, I think the possibilities are endless.
Oh yeah.
And he is just such a big-hearted, kind person, So having all that to boot.
Yeah, the first time I met him, I said, oh, I didn't realize he was even in Georgia. And I said, well, let's meet. So I looked it up, oh, okay, half hour away. Well, okay, I could do a half hour. So I drove out there, and we had both done covers of Renee's song Cairo.
Yeah.
Or I had done a cover, and he heard my cover, my Arabic cover of Renee's song, and he was really intrigued with that. So when I met him for the first time, I practically walked up the stairs, and then we turned on the camera and said, let's go live on Kimono. So what you saw,
I remember that.
That
was
show
awesome.
was me just having just met him.
Oh,
and
wow. I thought you practiced for an hour or something. Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
So
I didn't know that either. That's the one where you were hiding.
Yes.
You were like hiding, and we didn't know, and we thought it was Troy going live, and then the next thing you just popped up, and it was like, what?
Yeah,
and then
well,
Diane did that with Lars,
because
like
Renee,
a couple weeks later.
Took place in the desert with camels and scorpions. So I always imagine that song as like a snake charmer and a snake. So that's why I was doing that. I was pretending that Troy was the snake charmer and that I was the snake coming up.
Oh, I love that. See, that's how I just love the thought you put into everything you do, Silvia.
Yeah.
I do. Oh my gosh.
So
No, well, I said hey, let's do that. And he said, yeah, we both started laughing and then we just did it.
So this has been just an absolutely magical episode of One Hit Wonderful, but we're still missing someone. Miss someone, and there he is. The judge is here. Judge, what say you?
In my vacation mode. First of all, very first One Hit Wonderful on time. Applause, applause. Thank you for not saying ladies and germs.
Yeah, I'm
pretty. Young man can now sleep peacefully in his grave. I have a note for myself. I said unbelievable at the beginning of the show, and what I meant was undoubtedly. I think a CAT scan is in my near future.
You're judging yourself. Oh my gosh.
It's probably the only negative note that I have tonight. This is a wonderful show. Miss Diane Marie Coll, a delightful opening song, very catchy, and I concur with Miss Yaworsky. It's vibrant.
Wow.
The picture of Renee in the pool with the giant cat ears is surely to be iconic. Cat ears, yes.
Thank you.
If the cops had brought you before the swimming illegally in a Best Western pool, I would have been lenient on you, as it was your first infraction.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had to read that note to myself for a second before I understood what I wrote. The genesis of the pool photo becoming a love story between a mermaid and a shark was very interesting. These types of shared progressions make me so happy to be part of One Hit Wonderful.
Aww.
Yes.
Pops, drops, stops, hops, mops. The rather Dr. Seussian, it works for this fantasy tale. It is the tops. Tops.
There you go.
Very nice that Jeff mentored you and gave you practical advice to aid you in your performance career. I'm often frowned upon for doing the same thing. Perhaps I should soften my notes a bit. Jonathan Phipps, wonderful job letting your guests talk without interruption tonight. Awesome.
Thank you.
Champagne. Yes, it's a tricky word, but you can pronounce it in your own mind as champagne.
I like that.
That's right.
I'm fascinated to hear more about Tonka people and Tonka poems. I remember as a child I had Tonka trucks, but I'm sure there's no connection there. Yours sound very interesting. I want to hear more. I'm sure that Corey Lynn would be happy to hear that there are such parallels between your lives. Kudos to Diane Marie for pointing out the Scorpio connection without losing a beat.
Yes.
Jonathan, very good progression of questions. At 35 minutes, the show is running very smoothly. Silvia, it's no surprise to this old judge that someone with such a big heart and soul has done a lot for love. 80 in a 55 zone. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Hoping you'll set a better example from here on out. Arrivederci. Your grasp of the Italian language is amazing. Too sad that 6 years later that became more pertinent or permanent. Or was it? The Hawaiian boyfriend seemed to fare better. Samoan. When Silvia told the story about the French embassy, who of us thought she might mention a French boyfriend? Meaningful machete poetry. You are amazing, Silvia. Is there nothing that you cannot make sing to the body electric? I am in awe. You used the word enchanting tonight, and truly that is the best word to describe you, Miss Silvia, and what you do.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Silvia looks better at 55 than Jonathan does at 24 because of good living. She doesn't live on Mountain Dew and Little Debbie cakes.
I don't
And
do
those
that.
are my notes for this evening.
Oh my God. I promise. Oh my God. We're forgetting one more. We are forgetting one thing more, and it was we were that close from having 2 streams in a row with it forgotten. Diane, you have to play the theme song to your podcast forthcoming.
I will, but is the judge done?
I am done.
Oh, okay.
I am waiting to get back to my vacation.
He's going back to his vacation. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor, so much.
I've done my
You
job.
honor us.
Well, okay, I am just so excited about this show that's going to be on Tardon Media. And the show is going to be called Powered by Women, and it is going to be a roughly 30-minute taped interview show, and hopefully with some things, kind of peppered in. And I'm just going to say this, Silvia, I know I reached out to you today about it, but I do hope that you will be a guest on the show, because I would love to interview you about your journey as a woman and finding your voice and becoming empowered and talking about all that stuff. And because that's what the show is going to be about. And for me, I think the audience will be learning along with me as we learn about these stories and the wisdom that's gleaned from these stories. And Renee is going to be my first guest.
Mm-hmm. And Dennis is going to direct. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I'm terrified, but I'm excited.
Oh, it's only me. Nothing to be afraid of.
It's going to be awesome. We are so excited, Diane. You are going to do awesome. It's going to be a great show. And it fills a void. We don't have anything else like that out there.
If tonight is any indication, you will do a stupendous job.
Yes, she will.
Thank you, Stern. Thank you. So, I'm really old school. I like theme songs. I just do. And so I wrote a theme song for this show. And here we go. I've got my words down here because I don't want to forget.
You've heard of steam-powered, horse-powered, and gas-powered of your engines. And then there's solar-powered, man-powered, and the good old electric. But get this, even though Dennis is directing this show is only lunar powered by women.
Oh my God! That was awesome.
Thank you. I don't know what it is about theme songs. They're just rolling out of me these last couple days.
You are on a roll, Diane.
I know. I just, I'm just getting out of the way and letting it come through. It's so much fun with that. And
when is the first episode?
We don't know yet. We have to get that on the schedule.
We're going to get it on the schedule. We're going to get that scheduled. We're going to do the pilot. And then, Diane, are you saying Silvia will be your first real guest?
Sylvia, would be an honor.
Renee, you are a real guest.
Yes, you are. And a real host. We got to have her on camera more going forward. Because this was her idea. What Hit Wonderful was literally her idea. She gave light to this idea.
Jonathan, you knocked it out of the park, and Diane, you are an incredible host as well. And it's just
and as are you, Renee. Don't sell yourself short.
And I want to have you on the show again because I know you're offering to kind of be the guinea pig, so to speak, for the pilot episode. But I want to have you on again.
Okay, that sounds good.
Get all the wrinkles kind of ironed out and everything.
Yes, that'll be wonderful. I
look forward to great things from all of you.
Oh, the judge isn't a good. Vacation looks good on you, Your Honor. I think you need to go on vacation more. It's a really nice
little color in the cheeks there.
Yeah, you're looking great, Your Honor.
I'm looking flush.
The sun has touched your face there.
Yeah.
Now, we want to remind everyone that Tardon Media also has It's Casual, hosted by the inimitable Rory Penland. And
perhaps Diane can write a theme song for that show for Phipps to play at the beginning.
I could.
There's an idea.
I could.
Great idea. And this Tuesday, it'll be at
I'll talk
8
to Rory
p.m.
about it.
Talk to Rory about it. 8 p.m. Tuesday, Kimono My House, and Eddie Brill will be the featured guest on Tuesday. Big deal, right? That's awesome.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. Okay.
So, on that bombshell, we will bid y'all good night.
Everybody.
We will bid you farewell. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. This has been one of the most memorable One Hit Wonderful shows that we have done. Thank you to Silvia for coming on and being our guest. Thank you to Diane for sitting in with us and being our honorary question pepperer for the evening. And to Renee and to Judge Stern, thank y'all so much. I truly love doing this with y'all. I couldn't have picked a better crop of people to work with. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Renee, Judge, I love y'all. I love all of y'all. I love all of y'all. Y'all have been inspirations to me. And I love all of y'all. Take care, y'all. Have a great rest of your night. God bless and all the best.
We need to talk about your